Hello and welcome to day 11 of the Not Alone Today Chronological Bible Reading Plan. Today we are in Genesis 31 through 33.
Chapter 31. But Jacob learned that Laban's sons were grumbling. He owes everything he owns to our father. All his wealth is at our father's expense. Soon, Jacob noticed a considerable cooling in Laban's attitude toward him.
Jehovah now spoke to Jacob and told him, "Return to the land of your fathers and to your relatives there, and I will be with you."
So one day, Jacob sent for Rachel and Leah to come out to the field where he was with the flock, to talk to them, to talk things over with them.
"Your father has turned against me," he told them, "and now the God of my fathers has come and spoken to me. You know how hard I've worked for your father, but he has been completely unscrupulous and has broken his wage contract with me again and again and again. But God has not permitted him to do me any harm. For if he said the speckled animals would be mine, then all the flock produced speckled. And when he changed and said I could have the streaked ones, then all the lambs were streaked. In this way, God has made me wealthy at your father's expense.
And at the mating season, I had a dream and saw that the he-goats mating with the flock were streaked, speckled, and mottled. Then in my dream, the angel of God called to me and told me that I should mate the white female goats with streaked, speckled, and mottled male goats. For I have seen all that Laban has done to you, the angel said. I am the God you met at Bethel, he continued. The place you anointed the pillar and made a vow to serve me. Now, leave this country and return to the land of your birth."
Rachel and Leah replied, "That's fine with us. There's nothing for us here. None of our father's wealth will come to us anyway. He has reduced our rights to those of foreign women. He sold us, and what he received for us has disappeared. The riches God has given you from our father were legally ours, and our children's to begin with. So go ahead and do whatever God has told you to."
So one day, while Laban was out shearing sheep, Jacob set his wives and sons on camels and fled without telling Laban his intentions. He drove the flocks before him, Jacob's flocks he had gotten there at Padan Aram, and took everything he owned, and started out to return to his father Isaac in the land of Canaan. So he fled with all his possessions, and Rachel stole her father's household gods and took them with her, and crossed the Euphrates River and headed for the territory of Gilead.
Laban didn't learn of their flight for 3 days. Then, taking several men with him, he set out in hot pursuit and caught up with them 7 days later at Mount Gilead. That night, God appeared to Laban in a dream.
"Watch out what you say to Jacob," he was told. "Don't give him your blessing and don't curse him." Laban finally caught up with Jacob as he was camped at the top of a ridge. Laban, meanwhile, camped below him in the mountains.
"What do you mean by sneaking off like this?" Laban demanded. "Are my daughters prisoners captured in a battle, that you have rushed them away like this? Why didn't you give me a chance to have a farewell party? With singing and orchestra and harp? Why didn't you let me kiss my grandchildren and tell them goodbye? This is a strange way to act. I could crush you. But the God of your father appeared to me last night and told me, 'Be careful not to be too hard on Jacob.' But see here, though you feel you must go and long so intensely for your childhood home, why have you stolen my idols?"
"I sneaked away because I was afraid," Jacob answered. "I said to myself, he'll take his daughters from me by force. But as for your household idols, a curse upon anyone who took them. Let him die. If you find a single thing we've stolen from you, I swear before all these men, I will give it back without question." For Jacob didn't know that Rachel had taken them.
Laban went first into Jacob's tent to search there, then into Leah's, and then searched 2 tents of the concubines, but didn't find them. Finally, he went into Rachel's tent. Rachel, remember, was the one who had stolen the idols. She had stuffed them into her camel saddle and now was sitting on them. So although Laban searched the tents thoroughly, he didn't find them.
"Forgive my not getting up, father," Rachel explained, "but I'm having my monthly period. So Laban didn't find them.
Now Jacob got mad. "What did you find?" he demanded of Laban. "What is my crime? You've come rushing after me as though you were chasing a criminal, and have searched through everything. Now put everything I stole out here in front of us, before your men and mine, for all to see and to decide whose it is. 20 years I've been with you, and all that time I cared for your ewes and goats so that they produced healthy offspring, and I never touched one ram of yours for food. If any were attacked and killed by wild animals, did I show them to you and ask you to reduce the count of your flock? No, I took the loss. You made me pay for every animal stolen from the flocks, whether I could help it or not. I worked for you through the scorching heat of the day and through the cold and sleepless nights. Yes, 20 years, 14 of them earning your two daughters, and 6 years to get the flock. And you have reduced my wages 10 times? In fact, except for the grace of God, the God of my grandfather Abraham, even the glorious God of Isaac my father, you would have sent me off without a penny to my name. But God has seen your cruelty and my hard work, and that is why he appeared to you last night."
Laban replied, "These women are my daughters, and these children are mine, and these flocks and all that you have, all are mine. So how could I harm my own daughters and grandchildren? Come now, and we'll sign a peace pact, you and I, and we'll live by its terms."
So Jacob took a stone and set it up as a monument, and told his men to gather stones and make a heap. And Jacob and Laban ate together beside the pile of rocks. They named it the witness pile, Jegar Sahadutha in Laban's language, and Galid in Jacob's.
"This pile of stones will stand as a witness against us if either of us trespasses across this line," Laban said. So it was called the watchtower, Mizpah. For Laban said, "May the Lord see to it that we keep this bargain when we are out of each other's sight. And if you are harsh to my daughters, or take other wives, I won't know, but God will see it. This heap," Laban continued, "stands between us as a witness of our vows, that I will not cross this line to attack you, and you will not cross it to attack me. I call upon the God of Abraham and Nahor, and of their father, to destroy either of us who does."
So Jacob took oath before the mighty God of his father Isaac to respect the boundary line. Then Jacob presented a sacrifice to God there at the top of the mountain, and invited his companions to a feast, and afterwards spent the night with them on the mountain. Laban was up early the next morning and kissed his daughters and grandchildren and blessed them, and returned home.
Chapter 32. So Jacob and his household started on again, and the angel of God came to meet him. When he saw them, he exclaimed, "God lives here." So he named the place God's territory.
Jacob now sent messengers to his brother Esau in Edom, in the land of Seir, with this message: "Hello from Jacob. I've been living with Uncle Laban until recently, and now I own donkeys, oxen, sheep, goats, and many servants, both men and women. I have sent these messengers to inform you of my coming, hoping that you'll be friendly to us."
The messengers returned with the news that Esau was on the way to meet Jacob with an army of 400 men. Jacob was frantic with fear. He divided his household, along with the flocks and herds and camels, into two groups, for he said, "If Esau attacks one group, perhaps the other can escape."
Then Jacob prayed, "O God of Abraham my grandfather, and of my father Isaac, O Jehovah, who told me to return to the land of my relatives and said that you would do me good. I am not worthy of the least of all your loving kindness shown me again and again, just as you promised me. For when I left home, I owned nothing except a walking stick. And now I am 2 armies. O Lord, please deliver me from the destruction at the hand of my brother Esau, for I am frightened, terribly afraid that he is coming to kill me and these mothers and my children. But you promised to do me good, and to multiply my descendants until they become as the sands along the shores, too many to count."
Jacob stayed where he was for the night and prepared a present for his brother Esau: 200 female goats, 20 male goats, 200 ewes, 20 rams, 30 milk camels and their colts, 40 cows, 10 bulls, 20 female donkeys, 10 male donkeys.
He instructed his servants to drive them on ahead, each group of animals by itself, separated by a distance between. He told the men driving the first group that when they met Esau and he asked, "Where are you going? Whose servants are you? Whose animals are these?" They should reply, "These belong to your servant Jacob. They are a present for his master Esau. He is coming right behind us."
Jacob gave the same instructions to each driver with the same message. Jacob's strategy was to appease Esau with the presents before meeting him face to face. Perhaps, Jacob hoped, he will be friendly to us. So the presents were sent on ahead, and Jacob spent that night in the camp.
But during the night he got up and wakened his 2 wives and his 2 concubines and 11 sons and wakened them. But during the night he got up and wakened his 2 wives, his 2 concubines and 11 sons and sent them across the Jordan River at the Jabbok ford with all his possessions. Then returned again to the camp and was there alone. And a man wrestled with him until dawn. And when the man saw that he couldn't win the match, he struck Jacob's hip and knocked it out of joint at the socket.
Then the man said, "Let me go, for it is dawn."
But Jacob panted, "I will not let you go until you bless me."
"What is your name?" the man asked.
"Jacob," was the reply.
"It isn't anymore." The man told him, "It is Israel, the one who has power with God. Because you have been strong with God, you shall prevail with men."
"What is your name?" Jacob asked him.
"No, you mustn't ask," the man told him, and he blessed him there.
Jacob named the place Peniel, the face of God. For he said, "I have seen God face to face, and yet my life is spared." The sun rose as he started on, and he was limping because of his hip. That is why even today the people of Israel don't eat meat from near the hip in memory of what happened that night.
Chapter 33. Then, far in the distance, Jacob saw Esau coming with his 400 men. Jacob now arranged his family into a column with his 2 concubines and their children at the head, Leah and her children next, and Rachel and Joseph last. Then Jacob went on ahead. As he approached his brother, he bowed low 7 times before him. And then Esau ran to meet him and embraced him affectionately and kissed him, and both of them were in tears.
Then Esau looked at the women and children and asked, "Who are these people with you?"
"My children," Jacob replied. Then the concubines came forward with their children and bowed low before him. Next came Leah with her children and bowed. And finally Rachel and Joseph came and made their bows.
"And what were all the flocks and herds I met as I came?" Esau asked.
And Jacob replied, "They are my gifts to curry your favor."
"Brother, I have plenty," Esau laughed. "Keep what you have."
"No, but please accept them," Jacob said. "For what a relief it is to see your friendly smile. I was as frightened of you as to approaching God. Please take my gifts, for God has been very generous to me, and I have enough." So Jacob insisted, and finally Esau accepted them.
"Well, let's be going," Esau said. "My men and I will stay with you and lead the way."
But Jacob replied, "As you can see, some of the children are small, and the flocks and herd have their young, and if they're driven too hard, they will die. So you go on ahead of us, and we'll follow at our own pace and meet you at Seir."
"Well," Esau said, "at least let me leave you some of my men to assist you and be your guides."
"No," Jacob insisted. "We'll get along just fine. Please do as I suggest."
So Esau started back to Seir that same day. Meanwhile, Jacob and his household went as far as Succoth. There he built himself a camp with pens for his flocks and herds. That is why the place is called Succoth, meaning hurts. Then they arrived safely at Shechem in Canaan and camped outside the city. He bought the land he camped on from the family of Hamor, Shechem's father, for 100 pieces of silver. And there he erected an altar and called it El Elohi Israel, the altar to the God of Israel. This is the word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
Quite an interesting continuation to the story, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Do you want to go first in terms of what stood out to you as we were reading?
Okay. Just to run through, in chapter 31, Jacob called his wives and told them of what God had said to him, and they should live. Chapter 32 was when Laban and Esau and Jacob met. Another discussion of why did they leave and who stole whose idols. And then chapter 33 was when Jacob met Esau and then found mercy with him. That's just a rough summary of it. So, did anything stand out to you in chapter 31?
For chapter 31, what stood out to me is the sheer... I did not understand how, quote and unquote, wicked Laban was until this chapter. And yeah, there are people serving under leaders like that, innit? Where Jacob felt like, and rightly so, he has been faithful, he has done his best, and yet the man hadn't treated him considerably well in light of how he has... In fact, there was a previous, in part of our previous readings, I think it was day 10 or day 9, Laban himself admitted that, he has inquired and found out from the gods that it's because of Jacob that he's been prosperous in his business. And so how and why would you treat someone that is the reason for your prosperity with so much disdain? To the point that even the daughters confirmed it and said, even us, we don't feel like we have any inheritance here. He has made it clear that nothing belongs to us anymore. So yeah, it's amazing to know how, to read his heart and how he thinks of his family. Kind of confirms what we've said before about, this whole treatment of women like properties. Rachel and Leah pretty much confirming that in some sense in terms of how their father seemed to have treated them. Yeah.
Yes, what stood out to me in chapter 31, similar to yours, I like how that after God had spoken to Jacob, he called his wives to consult with them. He didn't just command them to leave. And the part that really, really stuck to me most was how that Rachel and Leah replied with one voice.
Yeah.
So even though they were rivals, and one person had more sons than the other, both of them spoke with one voice. And then agreed with Jacob on following him. But what I found curious about their response was, it sounded as though they wouldn't have agreed with Jacob, but for the fact that the riches Jacob has belongs to them. Like as though, because we have a stake in what you have, of course we will go with you. So they didn't just say, oh, God has said it, oh yes, we will go. Okay. But they sought their own parts and then left, which obviously is subjective. But I just thought, that's quite shrewd. Moving on to 32, anything?
No, there was still something actually in 31 that also caught my attention. That's the fact that unknowingly, Jacob placed a curse on Rachel. I don't know whether... I think there's something to make of it in the sense that even just the power of words and how we should be careful. When Laban came and then questioned about the issue of the idols, without yet knowing whether or not any of his people had taken any idols, Jacob was quick to say, curse be the person that did that. The person is going to die. And we do know that eventually in this narrative, Rachel is going to be the next person to die at the childbirth of giving birth to Benjamin. I don't know whether, the Bible did not categorically say there's a connection, but I can't help but think like that from my African worldview to say, he has said it. And the words, he has released a negative utterance into the cosmos that is waiting to find expression. And because indeed Rachel did that, we saw how that eventually played out for her. Yeah.
So chapter 32, what stood out to me was the word Peniel. Yeah, like the way the Living Translation translated it. Chapter 32, verse 30. The face of God. For he has seen God face to face, and yet his life was spared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can see from the narrative so far, and from some of these weird, seemingly out of sorts details that were being given, that even at this point, God, as we would get to understand and know him from the continuing narrative of the Old Testament, is not yet fully and truly the God of all these people, if you get what I mean. I mean, Rachel is still looking for some idols to support her in this new adventure.
Support her.
I don't know, to act in her defense. That's one way to say it. Even Laban, it was clear from his conversation in the preceding chapter and now with Jacob that he wasn't necessarily a believer in the God of Abraham. So there wasn't a honing of that God. It's not Laban's God. That much is clear. It's gradually becoming Rachel's God, you could say, but again, it's not emphatic. Or maybe Rachel thinks, yes, he could be my God as well as whatever other idols my father has. So there is a thing about loyalty to various gods or unclarity as to God of Israel, God of Abraham being their God. That is going to be a progressive thing as we continue in the narrative. I just thought to spot that out. About chapter 33 for you.
33 was the formation of how Jacob presented his family, from the least liked to the most liked. It's quite interesting. So that's verse 1 to 4. First, he put the concubines and the children at the head. Then Leah and her children next, and Joseph and Rachel last. And even when they came to bow before Esau, they all came out the same way. Like, let the first one get, I don't know if that's his intention, but let the first one get the wrath. And before it gets to Rachel's turn, it won't be. Because you remember when he split them into two groups, that was his intention. That if the first one were accosted by Esau, then the second one might be able to escape.
Yeah.
So that could be the reason if he made the formation that way. That would just like, it's still a cunning man.
Yeah, it seems the most logical explanation. He's a very strategic person. And despite there is a lingering insecurity, even after Esau has come and related with him ever so generously, he still kept insisting that, okay, now that we've made peace, at least you shall go ahead with your people. Let me and my people continue to come because we don't want to drive them too far. It's a lie. It's basically that he still feels in the corner of his heart anything could happen along the way.
It's possible.
So let's create the distance and the gap.
So in summary, basically, Jacob continued to be strategic, but God was with him, isn't it?
Indeed, that much is clear, especially with that encounter.
Yes.
Yeah.
So with each encounter, one with his wife in 31, the other with Laban in 32, and the other with Esau in 33, God was with him and he had gone ahead of him to prepare a place. And the instruction I got from this reading is naming things, naming seasons. Whenever something happens to him, he puts a name on it.
Yeah.
And the name connotes how God has met him. So I found that very instructive.
Yeah, now that you mentioned that, for those who might, we know not everybody is probably going to join this series at the beginning of a new year, but for those who might have done that, one of the practices we do, both as a family and within our community, is to encourage people to name their year the same way you would name a child or name a baby. Like, lean into God and say, what's up for me for this year, and let that shape a name that you give it. It's a way to claim, in some sense, a spiritual keenness and ownership of the adventure of that year, in a way that you know that your journey is being superintended by God because he has given you a beautiful name for your year. In that sense.
Yeah.
So thank you everyone for joining us for day 11. We'll come your way again on day 12 as we continue in the narrative, the unfolding narrative of Jacob, who is now back with Esau and the stories that follow.
Okay.
Until then, just remember, you're not alone
Today.
today. God bless you.
God bless you.